Be careful going down that slope. I'm just going to turn the hose on. She's back and I've just given her the hose and set her to work. Yeah, so yesterday I was up here for hours, basically the whole day. I got up here quite early in the morning and I didn't leave until like 5:30, 6 o'clock, and I didn't do a single bit of filming because having spent the weekend with Lauren and with loads of people and just it all being a bit full on, I was just like, I really want to just focus on my own, you know, podcast on or story on or whatever, and just do something really physical for the day. And I did. And it's really funny because even though when I'm up here on my own and I'm filming with you, I don't feel like I'm on my own because I'm talking to somebody constantly, you. It doesn't feel like I'm on my own up here. So yesterday I didn't do any filming, which means that I have to do a reveal of what I was doing yesterday today. So, you know, I had all those big plans about moving the swing seat. Well, they were kind of pushed forward a bit because when I got up here, obviously I hadn't been here for 6 days basically, and I got up here and the cover, the den had blown off the swing seat, and where it is, because the shed, so I'm currently in the shed, it's just like being stored right next door because that's the only bit of space we've got. And above us is the oak tree, and in the oak tree are wood pigeons, and inside wood pigeons is wood pigeon poo, and it flows like a waterfall from the top of the tree and all over the shed roof, and unfortunately also all over the precious swing seat. So basically it was like, right, I've got to clear some space on the other side of the allotment because I am not having a pooey swing seat. So yeah, let me show you what I got done yesterday. So I got the cover back on, but as you can see, like, this is just a tiny bit of the corner, but yeah, poo 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 poo. It just floods out of the tree here, which is boo. So this is what I've done. I've moved one bed from the other side to over here. I've measured it all out. Hey girlies, it was a bit of a day, wasn't it? I know, yeah, it was, but you were excellent backup team, you were, yeah. So I've moved that bed onto this side, moved all the soil out of it, and moved the barbecue that was here. You can see just where that is at the end there, that was where the barbecue was. So I've moved that to next to the asparagus bed, so I had to dig all of that out to make it flat. Mum is still watering, fantastic. So that was really tough because the soil was like concrete, absolute concrete. It was just so compacted and hard, and once I got this over, I had to use a pickaxe to get the soil and move it. So my shoulders are a bit stiff this morning. But this bed is also going to move, but I have the beetroot growing in here and it's doing really well. I don't want to mess around with that. And the space that it's going is where I've got the 2 small square beds at the moment, which are going to have to move. The far one is not a problem, it's just flowers and I can just move them at any point. But in the one closest to us, we've got the carrots and the coriander, so I'm not going to touch that for the time being because they're looking like they're coming on just fine, and I've just sown some more as well. But I'm pretty pleased with the barbecue being over here. I think it works much better because it's not kind of dividing the space up. And the only thing it's blocking off is the asparagus bed, so that's absolutely fine. Like I said, the beetroot is coming on tickety-boo, so I really don't want to be moving any of these around, so that's just going to stay there. So as a bit of an overview, this is the map of the plot, that's the entrance. And then in this top corner is where I'm making all the changes. So this is where I've currently got the swing seat stored. It's no good. Where I'm going to move them to is I've just taken this bed out here and I've moved the barbecue. So that's the bed and the barbecue, and I've just swapped them around. So the barbecue is now against the asparagus bed and the raised bed is now on this side. I've measured it out so that it's in the right spacing for when I eventually move the other bed, which is the one that's currently got the beetroot in, and it will go here when the carrots and the beetroot are both over, which will leave me with a really nice big space between the barbecue and the greenhouse. And the swing seat will go over there and it will just be marvellous. But there is just enough space for me to move the swing seat over into that corner. It's going to be a bit crowded into the barbecue for the time being, but it's out of the bird poo fountain. So I'm going to just shunt that over there right now. Something that's happened while I've been away is we don't produce a lot of rubbish here, but what we do, I stack in a bag and wait to take to the dump, and it's normally behind the greenhouse, but somebody has got, it was just down there, somebody, a fox or a badger, has ripped it to shreds and strewn it everywhere. So that's marvellous. I'll have to get round there today, but I've blocked it off with all my other junk, so it's going to be a bit of a task. But cucumbers. Look at these babies. They've grown so much since I potted them up. Look at these. But it does mean that I have to get the trellis up for them to grow off. So I've got to hang it off these bamboo canes that I've got kind of permanently attached to the edges of the greenhouse. So I've got one on either side, and I'm just going to hang the green plastic trellis off them. This one, unfortunately, was a melon, and a slug just ate it right off at the bottom and it couldn't recover. So that's a bit annoying. But yeah, the rest of them are looking good. I'm going back to the old plastic mesh trellis rather than this wooden one, because I found last year the plants grew through it and the wooden one was too stiff and it really deformed the fruit when they were on the other side of it, which is just inevitable. So I'm going to go back to this plastic one, which was much more flexible and didn't cause so much trouble with the fruit. And that is the melons and the cucumbers ready to take off. Fantastic. I've only gone up part way, just to where like the roof starts, but I've got the option to extend because that bamboo cane, I've got one going across the very top of the roof as well, so I can just, you know, link the two up as they get bigger, but there's no point putting it on now. Excellent. So next thing I need to do is do some sowing. I've got fennel to go in, and I need to sow some more basil because the Thai basil's doing brilliantly, but some of the other basil is looking a bit sad. It really got affected by the heat. Oh, Mum seems to have disappeared. I can hear her nattering actually, so she's obviously gone visiting. So now I've moved the swing seat out of this area. This is like traditionally where I do the nice little sowing. I've got the potting bench here, although that's absolutely covered in rubbish at the moment. But this is where I want to have the little cast iron table and chairs that we've got. Now that I've cleared the space, I'm just going to put that back there and do a bit of sowing in this spot. So we're going, fennel is the first thing I need to get in. There she is. She has returned. Just sitting where it was. She is the master observance. Yeah, I got it to move.
Perfect sitting there with a nice barbecue.
Mm-hmm. That's the fennel in, and 2 types of basil. I've done a green basil, which is just called sweet green, I think, and then the really dark purple one. Get them in the greenhouse. Tick. Okay, bit of excitement. So you know, 2 years ago, we were mulberry rich. Last year, not a sausage. This year, we have mulberries. Woo! And they're really big, beautiful, fat ones too. Look at that. Wow. Mulberries are a really interesting fruit because they just are so collapso. Like when you're picking them, they just turn to juice basically as you get them off the tree. Find something to put them in, I think. Paper bag is not going to cut it this time. Saucepan it is then. Yeah, because they collapse as soon as you pick them essentially. Like putting them in a paper bag, not a good idea. Just go straight soggy through. I mean, I've waxed lyrical about this mulberry tree before, but it's one of those fruits that you just can't get anywhere else, and it's such a distinctive flavour. Like, it is just a beautiful, beautiful fruit, and it's one of the things that I love most on this allotment because it is something you can't get anywhere else. It's not like, so you grow a courgette or something, and yes, the flavour difference is completely different from one you would buy in the shop to one you've picked yourself. But with something like a mulberry, when you've got something that you can't really get hold of anywhere else other than in like the form of jam or something. And there's a real joy in picking them as well because they're so collapsed, so you just get covered in the juice and they just smell incredible and they're so sticky and sweet, and it's a joy. It's a pure joy. Fab. Oh, a bit of rouge. It's also a bit of stick. That's very attractive.
More paint on.
Do you want me to move that? Oh, you're pulling my nice pile of stuff that doesn't fit in the compost bin with you? No, because I'm going to move that. This is Casablanca. Not a bad haul from 3 like quarter filled bags. Pretty good. Nice clean potatoes. This is Casablanca. We haven't tried this one before. I'm using the leftover, like the soil that was inside those potato bags, just to kind of help with this bed. Like I said, I had to use a pickaxe to get through the soil and it was a bit sad. So I'm going to pile a load of this stuff in, which is a mixture of our own compost and horse manure and a bit of potting compost from last year. I mean, it's not going to have a great deal good left in it because it's had the potatoes in there like for the whole first half of the year, but it'll give something, and I do need to top up this bed. Okay, next up, we're just going to pick some tomatoes before we head off. And there's quite a lot to pick because, well, I say quite a lot, more than I was expecting, because I've been holding off because I thought Mum was going to come up here. I thought she might want to join in the picking. So we're going to have a go at that now.
These are the smallest of all time tomatoes.
Well, we've got a few plums.
Just because I have to bin my back. Oh, they look really good, don't they?
They do. Tiniest bit of blossom end rot, but
All right. Yep.
only on one.
Good.
Actually, there's one more in there. Okay.
We need to bring out that tiny little basket, maybe.
Yeah.
A little trug. Hmm?
Yeah, there's one here too. We're going in there.
Yellow.
Yellow.
See that one?
Woo.
Down there.
Gorgeous. Right, and show that.
I'm not seeing. Oh, yes, I am. I'm seeing it now. Beautiful.
Lovely. Right.
Press off.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Right, chaps, action stations. Do you know, I still find it weird getting a bus on the motorway. It all seems a bit fast-paced for a bus, really. And look at this, this is the footbridge that takes you over the motorway, and it's like the blooming tree walk at Kew. No idea why. Walking over this is making me really nervous. Hello! So, oh, sorry, I'm just watching where I step because otherwise I'll fall over. Yeah, we're at Wisely. Yeah, so RHS Garden Wisely. I haven't had a really good look round here for such a long time because the last time I came here was with Mum and she wasn't very mobile then. So look at all of these magic catkins. They're from the sweet chestnut trees above. There's just masses of them. It's like a carpet. They're beautiful. But yeah, so I haven't had a really good look round here. I never got to the vegetable patch last time I was here, so I'm quite excited about that. Actually, I think I might have taken the wrong road. I think I can see a sign through the woods which says welcome to Wisely, and that's not where I am. So, right, let's see if I can get across all of these holly bushes. Maybe not so easy. I don't really want to backtrack though. Maybe I can get through here. Maybe. Oh, it's a bramble. Ah, bramble, bramble. Loads of bramble. Ah, holly. Ah, bramble. Okay, yeah, I can do it. I can get through here. Let's hope there's not too many ticks in this bit of woodland. Yeah! better. This is where I was supposed to be. And a little bit of exceptional timing. I spy with my little eye. Hello! A Johanna! Right, it's blooming hot, so we're going to make a beeline straight for the fruit and veg because that's the bit we're most interested in case we peter out a bit early. Very ditto. First edible find, chaps. Look how beautiful these plums are. Ah, we're just walking towards the student allotments area and just came across this whole field. It's just full of plums. The temptation is whopping. Come on, move on, move on, move on. Absolute raging compost bin envy. Oh, 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 oh. If that's not a sexy compost bin, I don't know what is. Some gorgeous little purple kohlrabies down here. I did sow this one, the Azure was the variety I used, but they were in that first sowing that got completely eaten by the slugs. And it's only now just dawning on me that I never actually re-sowed the kohlrabi. Pants! It's nice to see they're suffering with the drought as well. Look how sad this Russian kale looks. It's like, please, I need water. Also, nobody seems to be picking their courgettes because there are some whoppers around here. Look at the size of that beast. We've had a few small courgettes so far, but I can't wait to the glut. I know I'll probably regret saying that when it's actually upon me. This is weird. There's just 2 tiny carrots under here. Obviously been forgotten in the harvest. Sweet corn. This is quite interesting. It's actually a whole load of different crosses of perennial kale with Cavallonero and Russian kale, so a whole different mix. And they're trying to find individuals that particularly grow well at Wisely, which is quite exciting, really.
Lots all came through. The ones we bought in Derby, they look fantastic.
You know those Pink Panthers? They were brilliant. Yeah. Of all of my onions, everything failed apart from them. Some lovely French beans, little purple chaps. They're quite knobbly, aren't they? They look like they've got quite a lot of seed inside them rather than being sort of smooth and delicious. Yellow ones behind, they look like a better shape. And then there's runner beans on this end. There really is a lot going on in here and way more flowers than I've seen before. I noticed the same thing at the Q student allotments actually, loads more flowers. Sunflowers and cornflowers and loads of tagetes. Such a pretty place to be growing stuff here. It's just lovely. Look at these cornflowers. That's that black ball, the same one I grew this year. Just a bit of cold frame envy here going on as well. Look at that. Can you imagine having a cold frame set up that good? Although this is a familiar look. Absolutely frazzled, burnt brassicas. I know that look well. But inside, look at this, in this like long growing greenhouse, they've got all the peppers on the floor, onions drying. It's idyllic, isn't it idyllic? Even their water butt system is fancy. Look at that. More absolute whoppers. I mean, these ones are huge. They're like the size of my thigh. Actually, that might be an exaggeration. There'd need to be a lot fatter for that. And then at the other end, we've got another greenhouse. Right next to those incredible compost bins. What a setup. And look at the surroundings. I mean, that's all those plum trees and apple trees over there, like the plum we saw earlier. And it just goes on and on and on. What a place to grow vegetables. Artichokes. Johanna's photographing the compost bins. The vineyard. These look great. Actually, I was just asking Johanna about her grapes because she's got an amazing grapevine over the top of her like veranda thing, and apparently they're looking fab too, so I'm looking forward to getting some of them this year.
There's a lot of grapes on these as well, isn't there?
Loads! Moving on to the main vegetable patch, so not the student vegetable patch, but like the proper Wisely one. And look at these grapes. These are even bigger than the last ones. They have done so much work in this area, it's completely unrecognisable. A chocha. This is a different variety than I grow. I've got the smooth ones. These are the Fat Boys, I think they're called. You can get them from Real Seeds, Fat Boy. and they're really spiky, and actually I've never even tried them. I assume they taste the same as the normal ones, but look at those. Gorge. Pepper in there. Ooh, look at those babies. Beautiful peppers. Yet another greenhouse.
Yeah, have a look over there.
Yeah, this is it, the Patio Plum. Oh, it's a weird looking chap, isn't it?
It is.
Really
beautiful.
solid, feel it?
Yeah. Very architectural. Oh yeah. That is amazing. I want Patio Plum next year.
They've got such enormous raised beds. These must be like 1 metre high. A bit of a beautiful melon growing outside here. Who is it? Amir?
Yeah. I mean, the beans as long as the plant.
Yeah. Oh, they're the Yin Yang Beans, the ones with the black and white. I've got to say, this is pretty magnificent, but there's no shade and the heat is really getting to me, so I'm going to have to make an escape, I'm afraid. Is it nice and cool?
Yes.
I want it.
Splosh.
I wish.
Wouldn't that be funny?
On camera,
Put that on
I
there,
certainly would.
That'd be up there with me tasting that water in Bristol.
We're actually just making our way to the escape point, but look at this piece of magnificence. Look at the bark on this. It's like, I mean, I know when you get the red bark, but this is like, it's varnished. It's like vinyl. It's incredible. Absolutely incredible. Obviously, it's impossible to escape without going into the shop, and look what I spotted. A nice bit of Niwaki. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I've also picked up a bit of rocket seed because I sowed the last of that yesterday. Thought I'd have a look at what they've got in terms of plants here, but there's not a great deal. They've got some melons, and there's a couple of pretty sad looking chilies over there. And they've got Lilia spring onions, but even at a reduced price, I'm not paying 50p for about 10 spring onions.
Cheese grommet. Yeah, that's mine in the garden. Oh, that's magnificent. Wasn't it beautiful? Yeah. I was really happy with that.
What a sweet bow.
Next time I see to get out from drawers.
I love it. I think that is a 45. It is Saturday afternoon. I've just been out for lunch, so I'm stuffed, absolutely stuffed, which means I need a kip. But I've just come up here because I have got beans to sow, the French beans that I picked up for bargainous pounds at Homebase last week. So I'm going to get them in today. And also I'm going to upload the footage from this week, and I'm going to lay here on my swinging throne of glory and do a bit of like pre-editing. Get the first wave out the way. Yeah, that's my plan. Chat to the chickens, sow some beans, lie down and do some editing. Actually, just a quick thing. I've got so many like tote bags at home, you know, like bags for life and all that kind of stuff. But when I was at Jodrell Bank this week and I had to buy this one. The telescope's called Lovell, the Lovell telescope. All you need is Lovell. I am not short of a bag, but I needed this one. Also, sorry about the screaming, there's cricket going on. Yeah, right. Oh, I also need to do watering, obviously, because we still haven't had any rain here. You know, was it last week? It must have been last week when we had the little bit of a downpour, and I was just standing in the garden like absolute glory. That was all we had. That was it. Then I went to Manchester and was rained on solidly for 3 days. Came back here, there hasn't even been a drop. It's bone dry. Also need to pick some beetroot because we're gonna have beetroot for dinner tonight. Yeah. So not only is it bone dry, it's actually pretty hot. Pretty hot. I just walked back from Waitrose. Obviously I just said I went out for lunch, it was just down in Richmond, and I went back via Waitrose and stood in the freezer department for a couple of minutes just to cool off. Oh, you know the chimney wrapper that I just like scatter sowed? It's all up, looking good. They're even starting to get their true leaves. I'm amazed by how quick they were. It was literally like the next day they were emerging. The turnips are up in the top bed, or the second to top bed. Unfortunately, there's a big hole in the middle because somebody came snuffling through. I don't know whether it was a bird or a badger or a fox or whatever, but they scattered the seed all over the place out the centre. So we've got like 3 half lines instead of 3 nice neat rows, but never mind. And the spring onions are just making an appearance. Interestingly, the white Lisbon are much further ahead than the blood red. Now I must go and water them actually because they're going to need it. Yeah, all pretty good. You enjoying yourself, Lil? I'm going to go and sow some beans, Lil. I am. Yeah. Sowing them into the bed that I've just moved. I've evened out all of that old potato compost onto the top, and they're just going to need as much water as I can give them really, so I'm going to pre-water the rows. Okay, I'm going to get in some of the beans that I got for £1 from Homebase the other day. Why is there a helicopter? You don't see helicopters here until I get the camera out, and then there's helicopters. I don't even think there's a helicopter base around here. I don't know what's going on. Okay, beans. This is the packet of Rondo beans. Never grown these before. These were some of the £1 ones that I picked up from Homebase the other day. £1, pretty pleased. Says they should have been £3.60. Thumbs up to that. Yeah, they're not even out of date. It says 2024 is, you know, end sow date, so I'm pretty pleased. But yeah, I'm going to get them in direct sow. It says you can direct sow them all the way up till July, so I think I'm in with a good chance. It is still July. I think by the time this video comes out, it might be August, but believe me, right now it's still July. And it's not old. Will you go away? So I'm going to get the beans straight in. I'm not going to bother doing them in pots and starting them in the greenhouse or anything like that. I'm going to put them straight in. I'm planting the seed in pairs, about 30 centimetres apart, and then each pair about, what, 4 or 5 centimetres apart. I'm doing it for a couple of reasons. Firstly, putting 2 seeds in is always good because you've got a better chance of one of them germinating, but also it's not too much of a problem if the 2 of them germinate because there's a lot of space around the pair of plants. They can cohabit quite happily. So I'm going 5 kind of stations across my 1.20 metre bed, but 2 seeds in each spot. And then I'm making the rows quite far apart, maybe like 40 centimetres apart, so that if both plants do both germinate, they've just got enough space that they can actually do something. You right there, Lil? Are you right? Meow meow. Pretty girl. Okay, so I was just thinking, I've done 2 rows of those beans, but I've got the space, and unfortunately, the French beans, the yellow, the purple and the green that I put in over the far side have been so badly attacked by slugs. I don't know if they're going to survive. A couple of them have made it up to start growing up, and I think they're going to be okay, but it's very few plants out of the number that I planted out. It's a real shame because our next door neighbour has, to keep his weeds down, he's put black plastic down along that edge. So although we haven't had a great problem with slugs out in like the main garden this year because it's been so dry, they just don't, I wouldn't want to be a slug in this weather, but they've all been hiding under that black plastic. And then as soon as I planted the beans out along that edge, obviously they just come straight out of the plastic where they're protected and moist. Yeah, and there's tons of seed in here, and also I seem to be physically incapable of opening a seed packet in a convenient way to reseal it. I've just ripped the top off that one, so it's going to be a real pain. But yeah, I'm just going to put them in because we're not going to because I'm doubtful we're going to get really much of a French bean harvest from the climbing beans. May as well just whack in a load here. So I'm going to do another couple of rows, may as well. Okay, back to it. So let me show you what's happened to the other French beans because it's not a great look. So 6 plants went in either side of these arches. This one has actually got 3 that have just about made it. You can see they're just about starting to climb, although I don't like the look of what's going on with that leaf. But they are just starting to climb, so I think these ones are going to be all right. If we go the other side, we've only got 1 that's kind of made it through. They are the yellow beans. So we've got 4 plants instead of 12 of them. The green beans, we seem to only have 1 plant left. This was the Cobra, which is disappointing, although there is 1 bean on there. But I think we've actually only got the 1 plant out of the 12 that's actually managed to get past the slugs. So that's a bit disappointing. On the other hand, the beans that I planted out further into the allotment, so not on the edge, have done absolutely brilliantly. These are the Beetroot beans, looking fantastic. And then on the next arch is the Rondo Beans, which I didn't have great germination with, but what did go in has done fantastically well. And we've got beans on the go. I've got about 9 of these plants instead of the 18 that I'd originally envisaged, but there we go. And the tromboncinos that I've used to kind of take up the space on this end are looking great. Actually, they're starting, because I want them to trail up over the top of the arches, and they're starting to get those long traily bits. So I'm going to go and tie these in, I think. So Beetroots we're good for, Rondo Beans we're good for, French beans, if I can get the dwarf ones to come up, we're all right, but we're going to be very lacking in purple and yellow ones. Greek gigantes are okay. Jinxie beans, good. Yeah, so it's not a complete disaster. Okay, I've done the watering, sown the beans. I've edited the first half of the video. What was next? Oh, pick beetroot. I must pick beetroot. And then I think it's home time. Up, and I've just spotted something so cute. Have a look at this. It's a little goji berry flower. Isn't that so sweet? Look at them. Loves. Is that not gorgeous? I've been trying to find a place to put it. It was going to go in the fruit cage before we moved the fruit cage, but I might just put it up into a bigger pot. But it's gorgeous. I had no idea their flowers look like that. Can I angle it to you? Not very successfully. Sweet. Anyway, I am just going to tidy up and head home. I think there's a glass of wine with my name on it at home as well, so that's handy. Take some greens home with me as well. Actually, I'm just going to pick some chicory, and I've just seen that there's another courgette and a patty pan ready to be picked, which is quite exciting. Because do you remember, oh, it must have been, was it last week or the week before? There was that one like half chewed courgette that I took and I just had in some noodles. Well, because obviously Mum watches the vlog. I mean, she's been up here now this week, but at that point she hadn't been up. She was really put out that I ate that bit of gnarly end courgette. She was really like genuinely not impressed with that. So I'm gonna get courgette, patty pan, chicory. Don't know what this thing is now. We always finish every sentence with a thumbs up. So these are all supposed to be Patterson Gagat, which is a dark green patty pan. Alas, they appear to be yellow, or mostly yellow. What are you doing, Lil? Home time, plus bag of goodies, marvellous, ready for a glass of wine. Cheers, chaps. This is a bit of a weird angle because I left the tripod at the allotment, so you're balanced on a shelf, so I'm sorry we're a bit kind of vertigo. I'll try and stand up a bit higher. But yeah, so today is the very last day of July, which means that when this vlog comes out, it will be August. But quite a momentous week this week. Mum back on the plot, slowly but surely. It was a bit of a wobbly first go. But we're starting to get some good harvests now. I mean, the tomatoes are coming. There's loads of them in there. Obviously, absolutely nothing compared to like this time last year. But then again, lots of people last year had lost all their tomatoes by this time because of the early blight. So, you know, it's all swings and roundabouts, isn't it? And last year, we just could not eat enough beans. We had so many French beans, runner beans. We had so many French beans, we never even got round to eating the runner beans. So, and this year is obviously somewhat different to that on the bean front. So, yeah, every year is different. And you think you've got something sorted one year, it will inevitably come and bite you on the backside the following year and be completely different. But that's growing vegetables, isn't it? I'm extremely happy that we've got mulberries this year. That's a big plus. The raspberries are just starting to come now, so we're going to be picking raspberries like crazy. And everything's coming up that I got into the second wave, so I've got loads and loads of things that need to be planted out that are growing away happily in the greenhouse at the moment. So I'm going to basically be filling up the beds. I've got the top bed is free, and I've got half the bed that's got the turnips and spring onions in, that's free. And then there's half a bed a bit further down that's free, and I've got so much stuff in the greenhouse, it's all just going to be full really. And then we've got to start thinking about what we're going to be growing over winter in this sweltering heat. One thing I don't think I'm going to have a problem with this year though is the chilies in the polytunnel. So you know, last year and the year before actually, I was really reluctant to put the chilies in there because they're still producing normally, like November, even into December they're still producing. Well, I needed to plant stuff in there in like October, and there was this clash and I couldn't get them out. Well, this year there's certainly no danger of that because I don't even know if they're going to produce anything, the ones that I've got in the polytunnel, because they seem to have survived whatever that was that poisoned all the tomatoes that also stunted their growth. They survived that, but they just haven't really grown from that point on. So I still really have no idea what it was that got to them. But even though I've planted them out, like, they just are not growing. They're just the same size, and everything around them is growing perfectly well, and they're not. So I don't really know what to do about that. But, you know, like I say, every year is different. This year just isn't the year of the chili or the bean, or the tomato, or the kohlrabi, or the cabbage, or the swede, or the celeriac, or the Brussels sprout. Anyway, here's to August. It's going to be a good month, August, I can tell. I can feel it in my bones. Cheers, chaps.